Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the Things I See podcast. I'm your host, Clarity Ray, and for this very special episode 2, it is going to be guestless again. This is just a topic for me and you to discuss, so I hope you enjoy the intimacy of this topic. It's specifically going to be about mirror magic. And there's a lot of mirror magic and a lot of belief systems such as Wicca, demonolatry, and you can just, move through occultism and there's some reference to mirrors, but the first part of mirror magic is going to be focused on a very specific mirror, and it is the mirror of our reality. The thing that we are constantly reflecting out, and the thing that's constantly reflecting back out at us. Just to explain that a bit, you can see it, of course, as a theory, work on your own beliefs. But the idea is every reality that someone experiences is their own unique dream. And this dream, I like to say, instead of dream, it's on the other side of a mirror. Everything is a projection, a reflection. Everything, every tiny, minute detail was put there for a very specific reason. So, before I dive too deep into this realm of very beautiful, meaningful mirror magic, I want to start with talking about the number 2. Since this is episode 2, it's one of the main reasons mirrors were inspired. So, in general, number 2, when it comes to not direct numerology, just the essence of it, is polarity, duality and opposition, finding or losing balance, because balance isn't always perfect. Inherently balance is something that needs to be kept. So with the number 2 coming after 1, when it comes to our conscious, one-dimensional conscious is when it's just us, almost lacking the self. There is no reflection back. But then the second dimension specifically has to do with our third eye splitting from our pineal gland. And let me explain that real fast. In animals, when you read their energy, you can notice that the third eye and the pineal gland center are one chakra. There is no projection to the forehead. That is the third eye. They just are. There is a sense of thought still there, but that thought is so imbued in automaton, in the primitive mind, and just being that. So with humans, we get that second dimension consciousness. We get the ego along with it, that reflection, that beyond the self. And that's how we experience. And then the third dimension of consciousness is the shared reflection, which in essence is the dream. It is the dream we're all sharing through different reflections, through different perspectives and individual dreams. It's quite magical to view it that way. It's a big deal when it comes to things like self-reliance, authenticity, and spiritual work. Everything is a reflection, and when you see it that way, it's not that everything is suddenly in your control. It's that you realize none of it was in your control. You are you, and this is the reflection you're getting based on what you believe, how you hold yourself. So I love working with this mirror. I love working therapeutically with it, of course, because of all the coaching advice you can give around it. It's not just about accountability, it's about love. This entire life journey is all a reflection, and that means it is entirely for us. And that's what makes it a journey of love. That's what makes 2 such a heavy number for companionship and love, because it's not about loving another person. It's about loving the reflection that brought you that person, which in turn is loving yourself. Everything you get back out of this world is an act of self-love, and it all starts there. But moving a bit forward from that, when it comes to occultic or metaphysical work, the mirror gets super exciting. I am really into the kind of work you can do with this theoretical mirror of reality. I've originally heard of this term described as shape-shifting. I'm not sure how accurate that term is to my experience, but I can teach the experience and explain it quite well. Essentially, the concept with shape-shifting is you shift into someone else's mirror, into someone else's dream, into their perspective. And this isn't just empathy of feeling what they're feeling. It's feeling what they're feeling inside their bubble. And that's the key difference. It's feeling what they're feeling in the same space. Not your space, your perception, feeling it. You know, we often bring things in with empathy. But in this case, it's about leaving things behind. Dropping yourself for a moment to step into someone else's mirror. And in essence, when you do that, you become them. You become you in their mirror, but in that way, you become the way you're perceived by them. And you get to become them, and you get to then feel what they're feeling. And it's crazy. When I do this with people, my vision will change. Not like what I'm seeing, but how good my vision is. I've had things get blurry. I've had things almost develop a static-y feel where I'm seeing the static, but I can almost feel it on my skin. And it's very bizarre. I'm very reluctant about shapeshifting to everyone. I typically only shapeshift to like apprentices or people that I'm working with that I can trust, I can do that heavy of a thing with. But from practicing shapeshifting, from practicing being within someone else's dream with them, because it's so powerful, with that practice, I've developed some really uncannily good body sympathy. I can look at someone's face and tell if their sinuses are plugged. I can feel the pains they feel and where. And a big part of that was shape-shifting. And when you do it, it's almost like in an instant, you can feel your energy body is theirs. It's like at that moment in their dream, you share their energy body with them. And you get to not just feel. It's not about feeling yourself what they're feeling. It's about understanding. You know, there's certain protections and ways to go about it where you're not like intruding and you're not hurting yourself either. But very importantly, you're understanding, you're feeling, you're getting it with them, and you're there with them. So, aside from super radical shape-shifting work, when it comes to divination, not only does it help get into their essence and help you understand what's going on with them, but I like to explain palmistry as a mirror. One is for the past, left. One is for the future, right? Sometimes those switch on rare occasions. But I have most certainly seen with my own eyes how much it's just a mirror. And I often accidentally will shapeshift when doing palmistry. Not even quite shapeshift fully. I just link into their energy. You know, I'm touching their hand. We're vibing, right? It's a very intimate art form. But I like to describe it as sitting with someone through their mirror. Having a mirror is kind of a tough thing to come to terms with. You know, there is a lot of accountability. There is a lot of reflection, harsh reflection. But the beautiful thing about palmistry is I get to sit with someone and I get to look at their mirror with them. And now they have a friend to look at that mirror with. That's why I say it's not entirely shapeshifting. With shapeshifting, it's like you're there as them for them. With palmistry, there's still that disconnect enough where in that moment, you are a very important friend. You are a very important human that they get to share looking at their reflection with. The reflection is oftentimes scary. But that it's not scary to hurt us. It's scary to show us what's up. It's just reflecting what's up. And it's how we can take the steps to create a better reality, a better life for ourselves. It's learning this mirror and maybe learning a bit more about others. I'd love to hear if anyone has had any of their own experiences with this specific mirror of reality. And last episode, I did a meditation. In this episode, I'm saving that till the end of the episode because it's quite an emotionally heavy meditation. And I want to leave you guys off with it to have space to not have to pause the podcast or consider what's going on and just let it out. It's called The Mirror Room. And it's very much based on this external mirror of reality I'm discussing. But this time, it's an internal mirror. It's an inner dimension in our third eye. And each mirror is per se a snapshot of where we've gotten stuck in life. And behind all these mirrors, as I was saying earlier, we have our separate third eye and separate pineal gland. All of these mirrors are that third eye, the projection, the ego. Behind all those mirrors in that pineal gland center is our soul palace. It forms on its own. We don't have to do anything besides move back through the mirrors, heal through them. And then we get this internal dimension, and it's just peace. It's just the ease of the soul, ease of the ego. Whatever it is, it's remarkable. I'm going to go a bit more in depth when we do the meditation later in the episode, but to explain my own soul palace, it's like it's a flower meadow. And it's crazy because the flower meadow looks like sun is shining on them. But then the sky is night. There's stars all across it. And in this flower meadow, there's a shed. And this shed is like a labyrinth. Still not entirely sure why or what it's there for. I've been through it. And I didn't even find the labyrinth per se. I just went through into the shed and eventually fell. It was like a place to let go, essentially, into a deeper mind. But that's just the rough explanation of this soul palace. I can't explain the absolute beauty, the absolute awe I have every time I go in there, and to be able to just casually go in there. All right, so we're going to move on from that topic until we get to the meditation near the end of the episode. Now, we're shifting over to some more mirror magic. And I'm going to start with scrying. So I happen to own 2 crystal balls. I don't work super often with mirrors, but funny enough, I've worked with the sheen of water on a surface many times. Water will be spilled on a granite countertop and I'll look at it funny and I just feel it. I feel myself getting pulled in. My eyes hit that perfect reflection. What you'll catch me just staring at the countertop. It pulls you in. It's crazy. Crystal balls also tend to have that energy. They'll pull you in, but I've also experimented with many where they kind of push you out. And crystal balls are especially interesting. I feel they have much more personality than mirrors. Where a crystal ball, it's clear if it wants to do work with you. It doesn't feel like you can do anything with it. Well, it's because you can't. But a crystal ball that's right, it'll just pull you in. So, scrying. How does someone start scrying? Truthfully, it's starting. Just start looking at the sheen of water, mirrors, crystal balls, obsidian, and look at it from a ton of fun angles. Just look around at it, try to peek through it, try to peek at the sheen on it, try to just get every angle. It took me a while to really understand how scrying worked, but I have this one little trick that helped me out, and I call it down the rabbit hole, essentially. So I'm looking in my crystal ball, and I allow my eyes to get pulled to, I call it a corner of focus. When I'm looking deep in it, it feels like certain parts of what's reflecting in the ball kind of have a pull to them. They almost seem loud. It's like my eye picks them out. rather than like it almost blurs out the rest rather than it picks it out. But there's something that pulls my eye to a focal point, whether it's in a corner or some specific spot, and I grab that point and then let my eye pick the next point and the next point. The idea is it oftentimes almost forms like an open triangle where it's like almost formed all the way, but then it cuts into itself to kind of spiral. So I get all these corners that start spiraling. And through that spiraling, I just go deep enough into the crystal ball that I can start seeing a bit more than what's there. And funny enough, I can see a lot of things excellently with my eyes open. I can see people's energy bodies. I can see energy in the room as it moves around. I can see some fun little gauges I made next to people's heads so I can see different like amounts of energy in their body, for example. But with crystal balls, I struggle to get a lot of visuals. And it's interesting because I struggle to get open-eyed visuals, but they actually work great for helping trigger close-eyed visuals. And if you're not a visual person at all, I apologize. This is a very visual thing. Scrying is. Some of these other meditations don't, like the meditation at the end won't require that visual acuity, but scrying, if you happen to have close-eyed visuals, that also works really well. And basically, you can just lose yourself in the crystal ball enough that you can close your eyes as you're looking deeper, and you are reflecting something in your mind. It like sets up the reflection for you to be able to see it in your mind. So for example, one time I was hexed. It was a very unimpressive hex. Wasn't amused. But my way of clearing that hex was using a crystal ball, and I wasn't quite sure how it was going to work, but I start looking into it, I'm gazing into it, and I feel myself kind of almost black out, go under, like my eyes just close. It just happens. So my eyes close, and in front of me I see a hexagon, and it's kind of made out of wood. And it has a bunch of like panels on it, so it's like 6 triangles inside this hexagon, all made out of wood. And I basically open up all these triangles, all these wooden things like doors, and it is basically one layer of the hex. And with that being open, in theory, like that's when you're supposed to burn it, combat it. So I channeled holy fire, and a lot of it, not even holy fire, it was just fire. In my vision, I could see it in my body, I could feel it. Everything just got consumed with fire, and I kept channeling that fire for a while after not being able to see the hex anymore, just to like burn it, like a bit overkill. And that might have done something energetically, truthfully, back to the person to like use excess fire. But someone hexed me over something extremely petty, so I just wanted to burn it, get it out of the way. So I can highly suggest crystal balls for the use of close-eyed visuals. Go in with the intent, and usually, especially if it's an internal thing, if you're looking for something inside you or like something on you, like a reflection of something maybe behind you that's attached, you can channel that, and if you can't see it in the crystal ball, you can close your eyes after going deep enough. So that's using crystal balls. With mirrors, there's a lot of fun things you can do. I don't use mirrors for scrying. I struggle to see things in them, although typically people will use a black mirror and sometimes even put water over the black mirror. So you get the sheen of the mirror, and I feel like water is super helpful. And mind you, a lot of scrying is also done with a flame, a candle. I happen to never have candles around, so I kind of forgot and gave up on using candles, but I am sure that helps with some of the energy, some of the visual ability to pull from a crystal ball. And especially with mirrors, I'm sure a candle does wonders, absolute magic. So if you ever feel like you're struggling, definitely try with a candle as well. But I highly urge, before even trying, look into a crystal ball and don't try. That's the key thing, you know? Let your eye go down the rabbit hole into the center of that crystal ball just on its own. Try and let your eyes wander as they need to get in the flow of it. And then if that doesn't work, yeah, throw in some candles, try some water, you know, you can figure it out. So alongside mirrors, black mirrors, you can also use gemstones for scrying, which is super fun. Black obsidian is glass, so in many ways it is a black mirror. I feel like obsidian tends to be a bit more specific on what you're scrying, though. With mirrors and crystal balls have a lot of personality, so they might be picky. Mirrors feel almost too open. Like, I would almost say a warning against mirrors. They're kind of portals in a way, and they're very, very open portals. There isn't much in the way between you and whatever's on the other side of that mirror. So I'm a huge fan of gemstone and crystal balls for that reason. They tend to have more specific use, but they are also more safe. They tend to have a lot more, not even just energy. It's like character, like characterized energy to them. And I'm sure if you got a special enough mirror, you know, it's not as important, but there's really something about how clear mirrors are and how shaped they are that makes them almost more like gateways than scrying tools. To go a bit further into that, you can definitely summon things through a mirror as if it's a portal. 100% you can do that. I don't suggest doing it because, like I said, they tend to be super open. You open a mirror portal, it's kind of just into the astral current. And just like with channeling, you have to be super careful what you're channeling or who you're listening to when they channel. Because there's a lot of things in that current that can come through and deceive or just make their way through. And, you know, that energetically gets to people. What you say when you channel something puts a lot of power in something else's hands. And so does opening a portal with a mirror. So as long as you have your protection set and you have the right mirror, go for it. But when it comes to portals, lots of things you can do. You can write little contracts to the mirror. You can either write it on the mirror or you can have it facing the mirror. Candles are suggested, especially ones targeting specific entities or ideas or people you want to summon. I haven't tried it for summoning the dead, but I bet you could definitely use a mirror for that. I'm sure it's basically just a normal gateway through the veil. But of course, you know, also with that, be careful, have your protections. I love talking about all this, but I really don't want anyone just doing this without the right protections, because that can be tough. That can be very difficult. And I'll be going into some protection ideas with like the shape shifting I was talking about earlier, scrying, mirrors. I'll cover some of that. Actually, looking at it, I'm going to cover that right now. So, with protections, with mirrors, the big thing is that you're opening up a lot. When you're shape shifting, you're letting go of a lot of yourself to be somewhere else. And to let go and be somewhere else and then also be in someone else's something, you know, you basically become very susceptible. Like there's a lot that can go wrong in the shape-shifting process. As you go into someone else's mirror, you can like kind of halfway be there, which is just like empathy. It's highly connecting to them. But to fully be in there, you have to like really be able to let yourself go for a few moments energetically. Like let something else fill that body and also not lose yourself. So a big thing is experience between here and the veil. I can't say protection is the right move when it comes to that. I think it's more experience. When people are using their intuition to the most, sometimes they can do it for an hour straight, maybe 2. but usually it takes a lot of training to use it more than a few hours, right? Where doing so much fortune reading at this point, I have my energy on all day. I've become very accustomed and at peace with seeing like a bunch of everything all the time, which is always super fun. But it's because I've gotten over that drain just through experience of being able to let go while walking through the veil, right? Have your tether, but don't hold on to your tether, right? Just tie it to you kind of vibe, right? Yeah, so protection with leaving the veil, of course. Be tethered, right? Have something that grounds you. But with shapeshifting, you got to be able to leave your grounded body behind a bit. Let your body be grounded where it is, and you walk forward and out. Especially depending on who you're shapeshifting into. It's way too easy to bring a bit of yourself with, and then that part of yourself that has fear for what they're experiencing in that reflection then pops into that reflection and takes on some of it. Part of letting yourself go to shapeshift is to not take on other people's stuff. That's not our job. We're there to understand. And the cool thing is you can be in their dream, their reflection, and experience what they're experiencing. And by the time you're back, it wasn't you experiencing it. It was you experiencing it through them, almost more so. And yeah, you are in their dream, but it's energetically a huge, huge shift. The feeling, the vision, even the taste, things are just different because you are as them for that moment. So with shape-shifting, if this is something you want to try, start with trusted people and make sure you have good tethering, just good grounding, and make sure you're not burning yourself out energetically. It takes a lot of energy to move like that, whether beyond the veil or into someone else's mirror. It takes a lot of energy. So don't burn yourself out, because then you're going to come back and it's going to suck because you're burnt. So take your time. With shape-shifting, don't stay in there too long at first. If you manage to figure it out, of course. This is all assuming you can just do it. But honestly, for a lot of people, I think the biggest limiter is just not trying. Hand magic is one of the easiest things to do in all of occultism, and people just don't try it. But like energy just flies out of our hands willy-nilly. Most things magic we can just do with our hands. It's just people don't always see that. So moving on back to the same topic, moving on to protections with scrying. So with crystal balls, I cleanse my crystal ball, and again, they have a lot of personality, almost like a tarot deck or other divination set. So I kind of befriend them. I have mine on my desk all the time. If the sun comes through your window, cover it with a cloth so it's not burning your house down, right? But also there's a ritual to that. You cover it and you unveil it, right? So get to know the tool you're using, and that will help keep you safe. When it comes to doing things like opening portals rather than scrying can be pretty safe as long as you're in a safe environment and you have a safe tool. But with portals, being safe with that, I would say rune protections and then self-protections. I will definitely do a full episode on wards, but I'll just run through the quick process, because honestly, ward creation is something I've guided many people through. You can probably do this lickety-split. So especially if you have a ring or a bracelet on, I want you to use that. If it's going to be for a room, grab a gem or a piece of decoration. So I'm going to explain this to the room, but when I say what happens to the room, imagine that just happening to your body through this object. So you hold this object in your hands and feel free to close your eyes. Feel the texture of it, get into it a bit. Understand what you're holding with your eyes closed. I want you to imagine this item develops a glow, and this can be any color. It'll just manifest. And I want you to imagine this energy almost like a web shooting out string to all walls of the room, or shooting out strings, cords to your body. And this energy from this object will go into the body or the walls, and you'll see it start to change color and cover the whole surface. And as it covers the surface of our body or the walls of our room, the webs will detach from it. It almost becomes kind of like a Bluetooth connection, which is cool. This item is now bound either to your body to protect it or to the room to protect it. I love wards. They're absolutely phenomenal. And that's a super simple, bare bones, just the best way to start getting started with protections. I suggest doing that for the whole house or specific rooms in the house. If you live near a graveyard, absolutely set one of those up. And make sure to keep in mind what color they appear, because the colors have very significantly different meanings. Gold tends to be very heavily protective, almost like a sacred protection. Green tends to be very growth focused, but also very protective physically. There's a ton more with other colors. So when it comes to protecting yourself, protecting your room, or even warding your mirror, work with that energy. It's basically work with the idea of a ward, a protector, a seal, and it works in a lot of places. And every time I've guided someone through it, I've seen the same color they saw, which just, it's always nice to have that bit of validation. But that was some extra validation to be able to say that. It's incredibly amazing. Okay, so it looks like we have discussed most of the mirror magic I wanted to go over. I would love to hear in the comments if there's any way you work with mirrors that I likely don't know about. I have so much experience, but it's a lot of experience for one person. I am always interested in hearing others' experiences, so please feel free any fun methods or spells or techniques you have with mirrors. And to close things out, I'm going to do the mirror room meditation for you all. So this will be a video on my YouTube separately, because this is something you usually have to do. In people I see around, on average, 11 mirrors. The upper limit of mirrors is like 14, 15, 16, 17. And mirrors get made through the ego, getting stuck reflections, essentially trauma, but identity-specific trauma. So the idea is I guide you in to this mirror room that allows you to walk through the mirror. And this is in every single person. It's in the third eye. Funny enough, I can actually astral project into other people's mirror rooms. And many times I'll astral project through and see their soul palace. And that's the only point in which I can say I see someone deeper than they see themselves. It's because they're not there yet. There's so many mirrors to get to that soul palace. It's not even a reflection of it. It's a reflection of a reflection of a reflection. And it's dark. I would say until the fourth mirror, it stays dark. The fourth mirror till the soul palace. You don't even know what it is. But through this meditation, you get to go in to this dimension inside yourself. And you get to heal whatever reflection is stuck. Because it's up to you to do it. We depend on us. Alright, so I want you to get comfy. I want you to rest. Do understand that sometimes this can be emotionally heavy. So make sure you're in a good space and make sure you let it out. This is the art of letting go. And thank you for joining in on it. So we find our center. We find our breath. We allow ourselves to relax deeply into that breath. I want you to bring your awareness up to your forehead. Almost drop it down just between your eyebrows, not all the way to right in between them, just above that. And focus on your awareness here. You might feel a tendency or a want for your eyes to move up, to look up as well, where your awareness is. Focus back on that breath. And the third eye. Now with eyes closed, projecting forward, I want you to imagine in front of you 4 dots drawing 4 corners of a box. Between these dots, I want you to imagine lines filling in the space. And as those lines outline a square from these dots, I want you to imagine that this square has a sheen surface, a mirror finish. You can see the highlight. You know how it would feel to move your finger across it. And we look in that mirror. And you're going to see yourself. Not the you are now, but a version of us that got stuck along the way. You can feel free to step through this mirror. It is up to you to offer the love, forgiveness, and kindness that that version of you deserved. Because now that you're here, you are the one to offer that. You have grown for their sake just as they experienced for yours. Whether it's a hug, forgiveness, or a goodbye, give yourself all of your love. And as you have this moment with yourself, you'll start to feel that other self slip away. They're slipping away because they're okay. This is the work that had to be done. They weren't ready to die, but they were ready to let go. And this is us letting them go. Before you leave this space, I want you to look around and see your surroundings. It might all be black on every side of this box you're in. Or you might be able to see glimpses of your soul palace through the mirrors. As we let go and allow ourselves peace, we're going to slowly come back to out of this mirror room, present and center. We stand up from the count of 0 up to 5. We slowly come back to more and more. At 0, 1, 2, we feel our body. 3, we feel that breath. 4, feel our eyes open. And 5, wide awake. Back to. I hope this mirror room meditation has found you at a good time, and I sincerely hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to pause, take time to yourself, breathe, cry, whatever that letting go meant for you, cherish what it meant. Because this is the art of letting go, to be you. Thank you for tuning in to episode 2 of The Things I See. If you're interested in receiving an energy reading through my free flow energy system, or possibly in learning palmistry or free flow energy reading, definitely check out my website, guidedbyclarity.com. Even if you just want some free resources, I have free tarot reads on there I've intuited myself. I have a polygon sigil script I created that's open to the public, and I have a ton of information on the energy system that I put together. So if you want to learn, definitely check it out, and I'll see you guys next week on the next episode. Blessings and goodbye.